Every morning she sat alone in the far corner, a thin shadow of a woman, faded jacket, quiet hands. People glanced at her, then looked away. They called her strange, lost, forgettable. But Sam Carter, a black single father working the early shift, brought her a warm cup and a plate of toast every day. Then one morning, strangers in tailored suits walked in, asking for him. Sam wiped down the counter slowly. Same circles, same rhythm. The cloth was already damp, but the movement steadied him. Morning shifts did that. They gave him something to hold on to when life felt heavier than usual. Rent was late. Groceries were thin. His son, Jordan, had outgrown his shoes again. Bills waited on the kitchen table like silent warnings. The cafe was small. Old tiles, weak lights. A place people visited for cheap breakfasts and quiet corners, not comfort. But Sam worked here because it was steady. Because he needed it. Because Jordan needed him. The door chimed softly whenever someone entered. Regulars. Tired faces. People waking up before the sun. Sam served them one by one, keeping his voice calm and his steps slow. No rush, no noise, just breath and movement. Then she came in. Same time, same table. A woman wrapped in an old, oversized jacket. The fabric hung off her like it didn't remember warmth. Her hair stayed loose around her face. Not messy, just defeated. She never looked at anyone. She moved straight to the back corner, the one by the small window facing the alley. Staff whispered about her when they thought she couldn't hear. "She creeps me out," someone murmured once. "Probably sleeps on benches," another said, rolling her eyes. Sam heard it all. He didn't like it, didn't say much either, just breathed through it, the way he always did. He carried a mug of coffee to her table, set it gently in front of her, placed a slice of toast beside it. Not fancy, just warm, simple, something human. She lifted her eyes for a moment, a small nod. No smile, no words, just acknowledgement, quiet and fragile. She reached into her jacket, fingertips brushing through a handful of coins. She counted slowly, placed them on the table. Never enough. Often barely half. But Sam didn't question it, didn't correct her, didn't look disappointed. He simply nodded, then returned to the counter. Behind him, someone muttered, "You know she never pays the full price." Sam ignored it. "She's not hurting anyone," he said, keeping his voice steady. But he felt their stares, the silent judgment hanging in the air. Some of it about her, some of it about him. A black man choosing kindness where others chose suspicion. The woman stayed every morning, always in her corner, always silent. She held her cup with both hands like heat was something rare. She ate slowly, chewed carefully, her movements stiff as if her body had forgotten softness. Days passed like that, then weeks. Sam preparing her breakfast, she offering coins that barely added. Up. Staff complaining. Sam staying calm, life looping in small repetitions. Still, something about her stayed with him. A sadness that lived just beneath her skin, a quiet heaviness, a loneliness he recognized. He didn't know her name, didn't know her story, didn't know why she always came back, but every morning he saw her, and somehow seeing her felt like the beginning of something he couldn't name yet. The next morning started quietly, the way most mornings did. Soft rain tapping the windows, the low hum of the espresso machine, the rustle of newspapers being folded open. Sam moved through the cafe with the same steady rhythm as always, his motions calm and predictable. The woman slipped inside without drawing attention. Same corner, same posture, same way she tucked herself inward, as if she wanted to disappear between the cracks of the old cafe walls. Sam poured her coffee, cut the toast, set it down gently in front of her. She lifted her eyes for a second. A silent thank you. Then she looked away again. But today, something in the room felt Different. Not louder, just sharper, like conversations were happening at angles, just out of sight. Becca leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You're doing this again?" she asked quietly. Sam didn't look up. "She's hungry." "Everybody's hungry, Sam," Becca said, shrugging. "But people pay for their food." Sam kept wiping the counter. The cloth moved in circles that left faint streaks on the surface. "It's fine," he said softly. Becca exhaled like he had missed the point completely. "You make it too easy for her. She'll never stop coming if you keep feeding her." Sam didn't respond. He didn't trust his voice not to sound irritated. Tony passed by with a stack of plates. "Man, she's back again," he muttered. "You've got to stop encouraging it." Sam set the rag down. "She's not hurting anybody." Tony gave a short laugh. "That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying people notice things. Customers don't like sitting near her. Makes the place feel, you know." Sam's jaw tightened. "No. I don't know." Tony lifted his hands in surrender. "Just looking out for you, bro. That's all." But his tone didn't match his words. There was judgment there. Quiet. Casual. The kind people used when they thought they were being reasonable. Sam glanced around. A couple near the window shifted their chairs farther away. A businessman walked in, scanned the room, and visibly avoided her corner. A mother ushered her child to a table across the cafe. No one said anything cruel. No one made a scene. But the message was there, floating between glances and half-whispered comments. Sam carried another pot of coffee to her table. She held the cup with both hands, absorbing the warmth like it held her together. Her fingers trembled slightly. Not dramatically, just enough for Sam to notice. "You doing okay today?" he asked quietly. She hesitated, then nodded. It wasn't convincing, but she tried. Back at the counter, Becca shook her head again. "You care too much," she murmured. Sam didn't answer. He just kept moving, the way he always did when something bothered him more than he wanted to admit. Later, as the breakfast crowd thinned, she lifted her gaze again. "Why are you kind to me?" she asked. Her voice was soft, steady, almost careful. Sam paused, resting his hand on the back of a chair. "I don't know," he said. "It just feels right." She studied him with an expression he couldn't read. Not hope, not relief, something smaller, something like disbelief softened by gratitude. Then she looked back down at her coffee. The room kept judging her. People kept whispering. But Sam stayed steady, and she noticed. Even if she didn't say it out loud, she noticed. The next days followed a rhythm so quiet it almost felt rehearsed. Same corner, same cup, same thin hands wrapped around the warmth. But beneath that routine, something in her began to unravel. Not loudly, not suddenly, just in small, delicate ways that most people wouldn't notice. Sam noticed. On Tuesday, she struggled to lift the knife. Her fingers wouldn't close around the handle. It slipped from her grasp and clattered across the plate. She froze. Her shoulders went rigid. She whispered something under her breath, too soft for Sam to hear. He picked up the knife, cut the toast again, and placed it gently in front of her. She didn't thank him this time. She just stared at the plate like it reminded her of something painful. By Wednesday, the tremors were worse. She sat hunched over, chin near her chest, hands tucked under her sleeves like she was trying to keep them from shaking in public. When customers walked by, she held her breath. When someone accidentally brushed her chair, she flinched so sharply her coffee nearly spilled. Becca watched from the counter. "She's falling apart," she whispered. Sam didn't reply. The woman took out her notebook that morning, the small one with worn edges and pages that had been folded too many times. She wrote quickly, her handwriting cramped and neat, like she was trying to fit her whole life into one small space. Then, suddenly, she tore out a page, crumpled it, shoved it into her pocket with a sharp, panicked motion. Sam pretended not to notice. but the moment lodged itself in his mind like a thorn. On Thursday, the cafe was slow. Rain tapped at the windows in uneven rhythms. A businessman sat at the table beside hers. His briefcase brushed her chair when he sat down. The sound was small, almost nothing, but she jolted as if someone had shouted. Her cup tipped. Coffee spilled in a dark line across the table and dripped onto the floor. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Sam rushed over with a towel. "It's okay," he said quietly. "I'm sorry," she repeated, shaking harder. The businessman didn't even look up. Sam replaced her cup, set a new plate in front of her. Her hands hovered above it, unsure whether to touch anything at all. She stayed longer that day. She didn't write. She didn't eat much. She just sat with her hands wrapped around the warm cup like it was the only thing keeping her together. When Sam's shift ended, she was still there. He crouched beside her table. "You should get some rest," he said softly. She lifted her eyes. They were red around the edges, exhausted in a way sleep couldn't fix. "I don't have anywhere to rest," she whispered. Her voice cracked on the last word. Sam felt something heavy settle in his chest. He stayed there for a moment, unsure what to say. She looked at him like she was bracing for judgment, the kind she got from everyone else, but Sam just nodded. A small gesture. Quiet. Steady. And for the first time in days, she exhaled. Not fully, not comfortably, but enough. Enough to show that his presence, his one small act of consistency, still mattered. Enough to show she wasn't invisible. The next morning, her seat was empty. No jacket draped over the chair. No notebook tucked beside the window. Just silence sitting where she used to sit. Sam still made the coffee, still cut the toast into small squares. He placed the plate on the table anyway, the steam rising into the air like a small, stubborn hope. Becca watched him from behind the counter. "She's not coming today," she said quietly. Sam didn't answer. By noon, the coffee had gone cold. The toast had hardened at the corners. Sam cleared the table, but something in him resisted. Like wiping it down would erase her completely. The next day, he repeated the routine. Coffee. Toast. Corner table. Nothing. Tony tried to joke. Maybe the drifter moved on. They always do. Sam told him to stop, more sharply than he intended. Tony raised his hands and backed off. On the third day, Sam walked around the neighborhood after his shift. The rain had stopped, but puddles still covered the sidewalks. He checked the park benches first, empty. Checked the bus stop, no sign of her. Checked the laundromat, the library steps, the alley behind the pharmacy. Nothing. People walked past him, their faces blurred by dusk. Cars splashed through puddles, but no one wore a worn jacket. No one had tangled hair. No one sat hunched against the cold the way she always did. He went home unsettled. Luke colored at the table, humming softly, unaware of the knot tightening in Sam's chest. "Dad, you okay?" Luke asked, looking up. Sam forced a small smile. "Yeah, just tired." But he wasn't tired. He was worried. Worried in a way that felt too large for someone he barely knew. On the fourth day, Sam walked into work with a heaviness he couldn't shake. He made her usual breakfast anyway. Set it down. Waited. The door opened several times that morning. Regulars, delivery drivers, couples stopping in before work, but never her. Becca approached him near the register. "You're quiet," she said. Sam kept wiping the same spot on the counter. "She's been gone 4 days," he said. Becca softened. "I know you cared. But people disappear, Sam. It happens." "I'm not sure she disappeared," he murmured. "Feels like something else." Becca didn't argue. She just placed a hand on his arm before returning to her shift. That night, Sam tried walking again. This time farther, past the convenience store, past the subway station, past the shelter that always had a line outside, He scanned every doorway, every bench, every shadow. Nothing. He returned home exhausted. Luke was already asleep, curled up with his paper crane tucked under his pillow. Sam stood in the doorway of his son's room, watching the slow rise and fall of his chest. He wondered if she was warm somewhere, if she had eaten, if someone else had noticed she was missing. He doubted it. Most people never saw her to begin with. On the 5th day, he placed the coffee and toast on her table again. Steam curled upward, carrying the scent of something familiar, something lost. He didn't look at Becca. He didn't explain himself. He just stood there a moment longer before returning to the counter, feeling the quiet settle around him like a weight. Her absence spoke louder than she ever had. On the 6th morning, the cafe felt heavier than usual. Sam moved slower as he opened the blinds. The light came in pale and uncertain. He made her coffee, cut her toast, set the plate in its usual place. Then he stood behind the counter, waiting for a door that never opened. Time dragged. Customers came and went. Dishes clattered. Someone laughed near the entrance, but none of it touched Sam. His eyes kept drifting to the empty chair. At 9 a.m., the door swung open, not gently, but with a force that shifted the room's air. Sam looked up. 4 men in black suits stepped inside, filling the space with a quiet authority. Their expressions were neutral, unreadable. Behind them walked 2 people in gray, 1 man, 1 woman, both carrying polished briefcases. Conversation in the cafe faded to nothing. Even the espresso machine softened its hum. The woman in gray scanned the room. Her gaze landed on the counter where Sam stood frozen. She approached with steady steps, her heels clicking softly on the worn tile. "Excuse me," she said. Her tone was professional, controlled. "We're looking for a man named Samuel Rodriguez." Becca pointed at him without speaking. The woman turned. So did her colleague, and so did all 4 men in black. A quiet dread settled in Sam's stomach. "I'm Samuel," he said. His voice felt smaller than usual. The woman nodded. "My name is Margaret Calloway. I'm an attorney representing the estate of Amelia Rose Hart." She gestured to the man beside her. "This is my partner, Richard Brennan. We need to speak with you privately, if that's possible." Sam's breath caught. Amelia, the woman he had never known by name. He wiped his hands on his apron without realizing it. Then he led them to the back, the same corner where she used to sit, where he had placed the untouched breakfast for days. The coffee sat cold on the table. Margaret looked at it briefly but said nothing. Sam sat down across from them. The chair felt different, too heavy, too empty. Margaret opened her briefcase. "Mr. Rodriguez," she began gently, "I'm very sorry to inform you that Miss Hart passed away 2 nights ago." The words struck quietly but deeply. Sam lowered his eyes. He had prepared himself for the possibility, but hearing it still carved something out of him. "How?" he asked. "Heart failure," Margaret said. She'd been sick for some time. Sam nodded slowly. The signs had been there. The tremors, the fatigue, the silence. Margaret continued, her voice steady. "She left very specific instructions. We were asked to locate you and deliver something personally." Richard placed a thick cream-colored envelope on the table. The wax seal glowed softly under the cafe lights. Sam stared at it but didn't touch it. "Why me?" he asked quietly. Margaret exchanged a glance with Richard, then she leaned in slightly. "Because Miss Hart wasn't who she appeared to be," Margaret said. "She came from extraordinary wealth. At the time of her passing, her estate was valued at approximately $900 million. Sam shook his head. "That can't be right," he whispered. "She lived like she had nothing." "She chose that," Richard said softly. "After several personal losses, she stepped away from her former life. She wanted to see how the world treated someone who had fallen through the cracks." Margaret folded her hands. For months, almost no one acknowledged her humanity. She paused. Except you. Sam looked at the envelope. Heavy, sealed, final. His fingers hovered above it, but he hesitated. Margaret waited quietly, her expression steady. Richard folded his hands, giving Sam room to breathe. You should open it when you're ready, Margaret said softly. Sam nodded once. Then he slid his thumb under the seal and broke it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded neatly. He unfolded it slowly, careful not to tear the edges. Her handwriting appeared first. Clean, delicate, familiar. He read the letter in silence. Dear Sam. The words carried her voice. The steady, thoughtful rhythm he remembered. The pauses she used when searching for the right phrase. She spoke about invisibility, about being looked through instead of looked at, about wandering without a name or purpose. She wrote about the way kindness felt rare, like something fragile people had stopped believing in. She wrote about him, about the coffee he placed in front of her each morning, about the toast he cut into small pieces, about the way he never hurried her, never judged her, never recoiled when she spoke softly. You made me feel human again. Sam lowered the paper for a moment. The cafe blurred around the edges. He took a slow breath, then continued reading. She explained that the money wasn't a reward. It wasn't repayment. It was an invitation, a chance, a lifeline she hoped he would use to build a life he actually wanted. She said she trusted him, trusted what he would choose, trusted the quiet goodness she had seen in him from the first morning he placed the plate on her table. When he reached the last line, "Thank you for seeing me," he folded the letter carefully and set it beside his hand, keeping it close as if it might drift away. Margaret waited until he looked up. She cared about you deeply, she said. Your kindness shaped her final months. Richard withdrew a check from his folder and slid it across the table. The ink shone under the light. $1 million. Sam blinked at the number. It didn't look real. Nothing in his life had ever held that many zeros. Not his paychecks, not his bank account, not even his daydreams. I can't take this, Sam whispered. You can, Richard said gently. It was her final request. Sam rubbed the side of his thumb against the edge of the table. The cafe noise returned faintly. Dishes clinking, chairs scraping, someone placing an order at the counter. He felt caught between two worlds, the familiar one he had lived in for years, and the impossible one sitting across from him wrapped in cream-colored paper. Margaret leaned in slightly. You don't have to decide everything today, she said, but you should know. She believed you would use this for something meaningful. Sam thought of Luke, thought of rent notices, thought of the restaurant he once dreamed of opening, thought of the woman who folded paper cranes with his son. When he finally spoke, his voice trembled just once. I want to help people like her, he said. Margaret's expression softened. Then you already know what to do. Sam nodded slowly, as if the truth had been waiting inside him all along. He placed the check in his jacket pocket. The letter stayed in his hand. It felt like the beginning of something. Gentle, and entirely his.